Alrighty, teammates. So in today's direct instruction video, I want you to look and listen to how I go through each step of order of operations, really focusing on how I evaluate groupings and groups within groups. So please pay attention to how I rewrite each step of the expression as I solve it, which is best practice and what is expected of you as we move forward, and especially when you get to your exit ticket. So when I look at this expression, it says evaluate, which we know means to solve. So I'm going to read it aloud once. I want you to listen for how I pronounce each part of it, especially when I get to the groupings. So I have parentheses 4 squared plus parentheses 10 divided by 5 plus 3 squared, close parentheses, and then a closed parentheses of the larger one, minus 3 squared. Okay, so if you notice that kind of sounded funny when I got to this part, it's because we have a parentheses inside of a parentheses. So let's look at how I will evaluate this. So off to the side, you see that I have written out GEMDAS. So I have groupings, exponents, multiplication and division in order from left to right, addition and subtraction in order from left to right. I do this to remind myself that I am checking each step and I am not missing anything. So I know that the G stands for groupings. So I know I'm going to be evaluating what's inside my groups first. However, I know that I have a group here and a group here. Based on our key point, remember, we need to evaluate the innermost group first. So that would be parentheses 10 divided by 5 plus 3 squared. So then I view, that looks icky. I view what is inside that innermost grouping. I evaluate that expression first. So I see that I have division and I have an exponent and I have addition. So I'm still going to follow the order of operations to evaluate inside that parentheses. I'm going to get rid of some of this stuff so you can see what I'm doing. All right, so if I am looking inside that innermost parentheses, I have 10 divided by 5 plus 3 squared. I know the order of operations tells me that I must evaluate my expression my exponent first. So I know that 3 squared is the same as 3 times 3, which is equal to 9. So I'm going to use that answer to rewrite my expression to continue to solve. So I rewrite parentheses 4 squared plus parentheses 10 divided by 5 plus 9, because that's what we just solved for, close parentheses minus 3 squared. Now I still have some operations within that parentheses. So I need to ask myself, am I going to evaluate 10 divided by 5 first or 5 divided by 9 first? I have to evaluate multiplication and division before addition and subtraction. So I'm going to evaluate 10 divided by 5, which is 2. So I'm going to rewrite my expression. So I have parentheses 4 squared plus parentheses 2 plus 9, close parentheses, minus 3 squared. I have one operation left within that innermost parentheses, which is addition. So I need to add 9 plus 2, which is 11, and I'm going to rewrite my whole expression. I have parentheses 4 squared plus parentheses, and then I ask myself, do I need these parentheses because I am left with just one number? No, I don't. So I'm just going to write that one value that's left, which is 11. Close parentheses, meaning that outside parentheses, the one that is the same group as what's right next to the 4, minus 3 squared. So now I'm left with one group. So I have this group here. I have an exponent and I have addition. I know that I need to evaluate my exponent before anything else. So I have 4 squared, which is the same as 4 times 4, which is 16. So now I have parentheses 16 plus 11, close parentheses, minus 3 squared. I have one operation left within that parentheses, which is 16 plus 11, which is 27. Since I'm left with one value within that group, I get to get rid of those parentheses. So I'm left with 27 minus 3 squared. Before I can do the subtraction, I need to evaluate this exponent. So 3 squared is the same as 3 times 3, which is 9. So I have 27 minus 9, running out of space here. 27 minus 9, it's the last operation I have to evaluate, is 18. And remember, best practice, not only showing every step, but circling our final answer. All right, teammates, I want to give you one more example of evaluating expressions, not only with exponents, but multiple groupings. This example shows you not only parentheses, but also brackets. So these are parentheses, and these are brackets. So either way, they still represent groupings. So when I look at this expression, it says bracket or open bracket 14 and 5/10 minus parentheses 12 minus 11 close parentheses plus 2 close parentheses squared close bracket times 5 squared. So as I look at this, Ms. Bryce must have typed this in a funky way because I don't need that. So we're going to make that just a beautiful 2 all by itself. So sorry if that's confusing. I'm just going to rewrite it. Let's do that. Alrighty, teammates. So what we have is this just needed to be its own bracket. So since I need to evaluate my groupings first, I see that I have a bracket that encloses a few parentheses. So not only do I see this parentheses, I see this one as well, which has an exponent with it. However, remember, going back to our key point, if we have 2 parentheses, we can evaluate their first steps within the same first step. So what I'm going to do, I know that 12 minus 11 is 1. And then I know that 2 squared, 2 times 2 is 4. So then I can just rewrite my expression, which is open bracket 14 and 5/10 minus 1, because that is the only thing left within that first parentheses, plus 4 close bracket times 5 squared. Now I'm left with just one group. I know that I have addition and subtraction, and when I evaluate those, I have to go from left to right. So 14 and 5/10 minus 1 is 13 and 5/10 plus 4 close bracket times 5 squared. Now I'm left with just one operation within this bracket, so whatever my answer is, so whatever the sum to this part of the expression is, doesn't need to be surrounded by brackets anymore. So 13 and 5/10 plus 4 is 17 and 5/10 times 5 and 5 squared. Now I see that I have no more groupings, but I do have two operations left. I have multiplication and an exponent. I know based on order of operations, which I wrote over here to remind myself, I have to evaluate expressions. I keep saying expressions, I'm sorry. Exponents first. So I need to evaluate 5 squared, which is 5 times 5. So now I have 17 and 5/10 times 25. And 17 and 5/10 times 25 will give me my final answer of 437 and 5/10. Since this is my final answer, I need to circle it. Okay, so remember, our best practice is that we are rewriting every single step after we solve the expression. So that way, if we make a mistake, it is easy to go back and see where we messed up instead of having to redo the entire problem. Also, make sure that you are circling your final answer, and it's a good idea to remind yourself with our acronym off to the side that we go in order of groupings, exponents, multiplication and division as we move from left to right, and then addition and subtraction as we move from left to right.